Two former Love Island USA Season 7 cast members have turned attacking Nicolandria into their full-time job, and what I'm about to expose will blow your mind. We're talking about Ace Green and Taylor Williams, the same men who called Landrea their friend while systematically plotting her downfall. This isn't just typical Love Island drama between Nic and Landrea's former villa mates. This is psychological warfare disguised as friendship. And when Ace sat down to question whether Nicolandria is even real, claiming Nic privately told him there's no romantic spark, that wasn't honest concern speaking. That was pure, calculated strategy designed to inflict maximum damage on a couple that outshine them both. But stick with me, because the receipts I'm about to present will completely expose their coordinated campaign against the woman who proved she was always out of their league. Before we dive deep into this mess, you need to smash that subscribe button faster than Ace and Taylor's credibility disappeared after everyone saw their true colors. My notification bell is lonelier than Taylor's dating prospects after admitting he wasted everyone's time in the villa, so help me out and hit that bell too.
Let's rewind to where this bitter campaign actually started, because these calculated attacks didn't begin with some random podcast interview. This vendetta traces back to a specific moment in the Love Island villa that completely shattered some very fragile egos beyond repair. Remember when Ace and Taylor first tried to publicly humiliate Olandria? They thought they had orchestrated the perfect setup to send their so-called friend packing from paradise. It was supposed to be their grand power move, their moment to prove they controlled the villa dynamics and could decide who stayed and who went home embarrassed. Ace was dropping hints about wanting certain people to stay while working behind the scenes to isolate Olandria emotionally. Taylor was playing his switching sides routine with surgical precision, working both ends against the middle like he was running some masterclass in manipulation. Everything was perfectly choreographed to make Olandria look foolish in front of millions of Love Island USA viewers. They probably rehearsed their little performance for hours, completely convinced they were about to execute the most flawless blindside in reality TV history.
The plan seemed foolproof in their minds. Isolate her emotionally, embarrass her publicly, watch her confidence crumble, then sit back as she walked out defeated and humiliated. They wanted to prove they controlled the narrative and decided who deserved success. But then something completely unexpected happened that derailed their entire master plan and exposed them as fraudulent puppet masters. Nic stepped up with genuine protection, shut down their manipulative game completely, and their carefully crafted humiliation ritual crumbled faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. Instead of Landrea walking out embarrassed like they planned, she emerged stronger and more respected. That single moment of real friendship broke something fundamental inside both Ace and Taylor's psyche that they've never recovered from. They didn't just lose a strategic battle that day. They lost complete control of the narrative they thought they were writing. They went from self-proclaimed puppet masters to irrelevant side characters in someone else's beautiful love story, and their egos have never recovered from that powerless moment.
Now let's talk about what's really eating them alive and why they can't move on from this obsession. Look at where everyone stands right now in their post-villa lives, and the contrast is absolutely stark. Olandria has secured magazine covers, brand deals, and built a devoted fan base, while Ace only trends when he's starting drama about former castmates. Meanwhile, Taylor's most memorable post-show moment is admitting producers basically made him waste everyone's time, which isn't exactly the kind of storyline that screams success. That's not power they're demonstrating with these calculated attacks. That's purely parasitic behavior at its most transparent. They're literally feeding off her success like vampires because they cannot generate their own relevance without her name being attached to their content. Every podcast appearance, every social media post somehow circles back to Nicolandria, and that pattern reveals everything about their true motivations.
When Ace recently went on a podcast claiming Nicolandria isn't real and that Nic told him there's no romantic spark, this wasn't him being genuinely honest about friendship dynamics. This was round 2 of the exact same manipulative game plan that backfired spectacularly in the villa. But here's what makes this even more calculated. The timing was absolutely deliberate. Every time Nicolandria reaches a new milestone, suddenly they have something negative to contribute. Let's examine Taylor's latest pathetic excuse, because this one really exposes their shared hypocrisy. Taylor spent most of Love Island USA Season 7 struggling to build a connection with Nicolandria while pushing to be her main option, but now he's claiming producers influenced just pursuit of her. If that story is actually true, why didn't he tell her when it mattered? We witness other Islanders say they weren't interested without hesitation. We saw contestants refuse to go along with storylines they weren't comfortable with.
But Taylor made a conscious choice to play along with what he now claims was producer manipulation. He let Olandria invest emotionally in their connection, let her believe something genuine was building, and allowed her to be vulnerable with someone who was apparently just following a script. That's not being passively influenced by production pressure. That's making an active decision to deceive someone. Well, she trusted you with genuine feelings. Quick reminder to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying this deep dive into reality TV psychology, because apparently someone needs to connect these obvious dots that everyone else seems to miss. My subscriber count needs more love than Ace's claims about caring for Landrea as a genuine friend.
Here's where the situation gets rich with irony that exposes Ace's role. Ace was right there, watching this entire situation unfold in real time, and he wasn't some innocent bystander. We have footage of Ace giving Taylor detailed advice on how to manipulate coupling situations to his advantage, coaching him on specific tactics to keep Olandria interested while Taylor was planning his exit strategy. Ace actively participated in helping deceive Olandria for weeks. But now this same man wants to stand on his moral soapbox during podcast interviews, talking about integrity and authentic relationships like he's some beacon of truth. He wants us to believe he's a moral authority while simultaneously admitting he was complicit in helping deceive Olandria. The math isn't adding up, and their hypocrisy is showing clearer than a neon sign in the desert.
If Ace genuinely had legitimate concerns about Nicolandria's relationship, if this was really about friendship and honest communication like he claims, he's had countless opportunities for private conversations. They were together at industry events, at the reunion special, at social gatherings where cast members reconnected. They've had months to clear the air through respectful, private conversations, if Ace's concerns were rooted in genuine friendship. But instead of choosing private dialogue, like mature adults, he deliberately chose to air grievances on a public podcast platform, knowing exactly how damaging the fallout would be. That's not transparency or authentic concern. That's calculated theater, designed for maximum impact and maximum damage to relationships he claims to value.
Here's the undeniable pattern that's impossible to ignore once you see it clearly. Both Ace and Taylor have essentially made post-Villa careers out of staying relevant by systematically attacking Olandria's success and questioning her authentic connections. Every single time she reaches a new milestone, every time she secures a new opportunity that proves her value beyond their Villa politics, suddenly they have something negative to contribute. It's giving major, bitter ex-boyfriend energy, except they were never the main character in her story to begin with. They were supporting cast members who got written out when their manipulative behavior was exposed, and they cannot accept their reduced role in the narrative they thought they controlled. When Taylor gets eliminated and his energy immediately shifts to resentment every time Olandria gets positive recognition, those aren't coincidences. When Ace's most viral moments come from throwing shade at the couple everyone's rooting for, that's not integrity speaking. That's pure jealousy wearing a poorly constructed mask of fake friendship.
Let me educate everyone on something called virtue signaling, because Ace just provided a masterclass demonstration during his podcast appearance. Virtue signaling occurs when someone publicly expresses opinions primarily to demonstrate their perceived moral superiority, using claimed virtues as a smokescreen for less honorable underlying behavior. For the first portion of that interview, Ace systematically fed his audience everything they wanted to hear about success, integrity, and authentic relationships. He talked extensively about his personal integrity, his achievements, his position as a young black man making moves in entertainment. He painted himself as the righteous truth teller, the one person brave enough to expose fake relationships and clout chasers.
But then his carefully constructed mask began slipping as his real emotions took over. Suddenly, he looked less like a moral authority and more like a grown man having an elaborate ego tantrum because someone took away his favorite toy and wouldn't let him control the narrative anymore. The virtue signaling worked exactly as intended. Half his audience was so busy applauding his earlier points that they missed how contradictory and petty his actual grievances were when examined closely. Here's what really exposes the difference between genuine friendship and performative loyalty designed for social media consumption. While Ace and Taylor have made a sport out of publicly embarrassing and questioning Olandria's every move, analyzing her relationships and second-guessing her choices, Nic has consistently done the complete opposite. Nic hasn't humiliated her for content. He hasn't turned private conversations into public weapons designed to hurt her reputation. He hasn't cynically used her name to generate buzz for his own social media presence.
In today's world where reputation can literally make or break career opportunities, that kind of consistent protection and genuine support is incredibly rare and valuable. When Ace stood on that podcast platform to air grievances, his strategic silence about defending his so-called friend spoke volumes about his true character. When someone you genuinely care about is being systematically attacked, your first instinct should be protection, not piling on with additional criticism and public humiliation. The Love Island USA fandom isn't comprised of naive viewers who can be manipulated by fake concern and performative friendship. They see straight through manufactured drama and desperate attempts at maintaining relevance through controversy. When fans immediately called out Ace's character after his podcast appearance, when they questioned his suspicious motives and convenient timing, that wasn't mindless mob mentality. That was collective recognition of psychological manipulation being broadcast in real time.
Fans understand that if you truly want to address legitimate issues with friends, you handle it privately, first, out of respect for relationships involved. If you genuinely care about someone's reputation, you don't deliberately expose them to additional scrutiny that could damage their career prospects. And if you're really committed to integrity as a core value like Ace claims, your actions consistently match your words across all situations, not just when it's convenient or profitable. Let's zoom out and discuss the bigger picture, because this situation represents something significantly larger than just Love Island drama. Olandria is a black woman who entered that villa knowing she would face additional layers of scrutiny, additional skepticism about her motives, and additional challenges other contestants might never encounter. She successfully navigated online harassment, constant questioning of her authenticity, and criticism that often feels disproportionate compared to what other Islanders face.
Instead of her former villa friends working to ease that unfair burden, they've deliberately chosen to add to it with public attacks and calculated attempts to undermine her success. Instead of using their platforms to uplift someone facing unique challenges in the public eye, they've weaponized their voices to systematically tear her down at every opportunity. That's not just personally disappointing behavior from people she trusted. It's culturally harmful on a broader level that affects how black women are perceived in entertainment spaces. When black women are already fighting for basic respect in spaces that weren't originally designed to include them, the last thing they need is calculated sabotage from people who should be allies. The fans who consistently defend Nicolandria understand this dynamic perfectly and refuse to let it slide. They're not just supporting a cute couple. They're actively supporting the principle that black women deserve loyalty, protection, and celebration of their achievements without constant questioning or attempts to diminish their success. Before we wrap up, make sure to subscribe if you believe in supporting creators who dig deeper than surface-level gossip and actually analyze the psychology behind headlines. My notification bell needs more attention than Ace's desperate attempts to stay relevant through manufactured controversy. What we've witnessed over these months since Love Island USA Season 7 ended isn't just about reality TV drama or typical social media beef between former cast members. It's fundamentally about the real emotional cost of betrayal and what happens when people you trusted decide your success represents the threat to their fragile self-worth. Olandria has handled this entire situation with remarkable grace that puts most adults to shame. But let's be honest about what she's been forced to endure emotionally. Imagine building what you thought were meaningful friendships in an intense environment where you're all going through the same challenges together, only to watch them systematically turn your personal relationships into content for their platforms and personal gain.
But here's what's genuinely beautiful about how this situation is played out. Despite their best efforts to tear her down, these coordinated attacks have only highlighted her incredible inner strength. Instead of isolating her from genuine support, they've shown exactly who deserves her loyalty and who was never truly worthy of it. Instead of diminishing her success, their obvious jealousy has actually made her accomplishments seem even more impressive. At its core, this entire situation comes down to one simple question everyone should ask when evaluating friendships. What does real friendship actually look like when tested by success and changing circumstances? Is it supporting someone's achievements even when they surpass your own? Is it protecting their reputation instead of exploiting their vulnerabilities for personal gain? Is it addressing conflicts privately before airing them publicly for entertainment or sensationalism?
Real friends don't weaponize private conversations for public content designed to damage reputations. Real friends don't time their supposed concerns for maximum embarrassment. Real friends don't build their own relevance on the foundation of someone else's pain while claiming to care about their well-being. What Ace and Taylor have demonstrated isn't friendship at all. Despite claims about caring for Olandria, it's transactional relationship behavior masquerading as loyalty. It's ego protection disguised as honesty. They revealed that their connection to Olandria was always conditional on her staying in what they considered her proper place in their self-created hierarchy. When she exceeded those artificial limitations, when she achieved success they couldn't control or diminish, their true colors emerged completely.
The beautiful thing about this entire situation is that we as viewers have the power to reject manufactured drama and celebrate authentic connections instead. We can hold people accountable for their actions, not just their carefully crafted public personas. We can support people who demonstrate genuine friendship instead of those who exploit vulnerabilities for content and engagement. If you believe in supporting creators who go deeper than surface-level drama, who analyze the psychology behind headlines, and stand up for people who deserve better treatment from those they trusted, then subscribe right now and help me build a community that values truth, empathy, and genuine accountability above cheap entertainment and manufactured controversy. Because at the end of the day, we all deserve friends who stand beside us when the world wants to tear us down, not friends who hand the world the weapons to do it more effectively while claiming they care about our well-being. The tea has been thoroughly spilled, the receipts have been examined with proper context, and the truth has been told without filter or agenda. Now it's up to all of us to decide what we do with that information and how we choose to support authentic relationships over manufactured drama designed purely for engagement and relevance.